Over the last 2 weeks, I've gotten a chance to fly the Mavic 2 Pro for about 200,000 feet, 4.5 hours of flying and about 90 flights or so according to my DJI app. So I feel like I can confidently tell you what I think of this drone and just how good it is, but I wanted this review to be a little different than so many of them that are out there. Instead of giving you all the specs like you can very easily find on their website, I'm going to tell you what the specs say and then more importantly dive right into whether or not I think those actually matter and whether the tests that I found using them are actually accurate to what they say. So let's jump right into it. Let's talk about the Mavic 2 Pro. So first off, if you're new around here and you've never visited my channel before, my name is Scott and I own a video production company called 4LC Studios, and our main drone that we use for actual video production is the DJI Inspire 2. We absolutely love the Inspire 2, but the reality of the Inspire 2 is that it's really big, it's bulky, and it's not easy to travel with. So as we started to travel more, we realized we couldn't bring the Inspire 2 a lot of places with us because we have other equipment to bring. So we wanted a portable drone that would allow us to get really good footage without sacrificing the bulk. And so we tried out the original Mavic. We're not thrilled with it. We tried out the Mavic Air. We were really actually blown away by how good that little drone is. But limitations from range and from image quality just didn't allow us to truly look at that as a true option to not replace the Inspire 2, but use it with the Inspire 2. And then this guy came out, and I could not be more excited to get my hands on it because I knew this was going to be a special drone. As soon as I read about the Hasselblad integration that they had, I was thrilled, and I am absolutely thrilled with this drone. So let's talk a little bit about what I think of it. So first off, let's talk about image quality. Right out of the box, this thing comes with the Hasselblad 2.8 aperture 1-inch sensor. Now that 1-inch sensor is 4 times the size of the previous Mavic sensor, so what that means overall is just an outstanding image quality leap from the previous version. So first things first, the image quality is great. I didn't doubt that for one bit, but I'm extremely excited about it. One of the great features of this new sensor is that it allows you to shoot in 10-bit D-Log. And some of you that are new to video or new to drones in general, that may not sound like a feature that's that exciting, but it really is important. If you're into color grading and you're into matching cameras between one another, it really helps to have that extra detail in the color profile to really get an accurate color and to really be able to grade things without it breaking up as easy. So that's important to us because we have GH5s, which also shoot in 10-bit. We have the Inspire 2, which shoots in a very high quality and up to RAW. So it's nice having a portable drone that we can still trust that when we shoot things with it, it allows us to grade it the way we want to get the picture that we want, and that's a really big feature. It also allows you to shoot in 10-bit HDR. That's not something I use very much, but it's a great option if that's something that you're into. Also, unlike the original Mavic, this also has adjustable aperture down to f2.8, so that's really nice if you're looking to get a little bit more depth of field in certain situations, or you're just looking for better low light. It does allow you to get a nicer view on things. One thing to keep in mind is that it's important to think about that aperture if you're shooting in manual mode, because if you're shooting some big landscape and you're really shallow because you don't realize you are, you got to make sure that you choose the right aperture for what you're shooting in as compared to always shooting in f2.8. You don't always want a shallow depth of field depending on what you're shooting. So that's something to keep in mind, but it's definitely a nice option. With that new image sensor comes a new H.265 codec that is available on these drones, and what that essentially means is that it's 50% better codec, which means 50% better quality from the actual codec, which without being super scientific means the image quality is way better on it. One thing that really stuck out to me with the Mavic 2 as I started to fly it is the battery life. It claims to get a 31-minute flight time, and I found that to be extremely accurate. Obviously, you're never running it to zero, so you can expect more of 25 to 26, 27 minutes of flight time before you want to bring it down because it wants to return to home if the battery's running low. But the battery life is outstanding, and it's really useful for things like the new hyperlapse mode and the new time-lapse modes in the air, because when you want to let it run for an extended period of time, you don't want to have to worry about stopping the clip midway, so you can bring it all the way back down, change the batteries, and fly it again. Being able to have it in the air that long, because you can carry less batteries with you, and you can also just use the drone longer when it's up there, get a lot of shots in one one flight and not have to worry about going back up and going back to the location you might have been flying in just to get that shot. So before we got the Mavic 2 Pro, we had the Mavic Air. We really liked what we got from the Mavic Air for being a $700 or $800 drone, but the range was just really, really low. It felt like it was super unreliable whenever we were actually using it in a busy environment like a city or something, so it just wasn't a great option for us. Most times we're flying, we're never really trying to fly at 5 miles away because it's important to have line of sight with the drone. What's more important is the fact that because the range is so good on this, it allows you to get a much stronger, more reliable range in a city. When we're flying it, we want to make sure that we can get the shots we need all from one location. I don't like to have to move locations around in a city or something just to get a certain shot. I like to be able to put it up wherever I decide to fly it from and then get all the shots from there. So this extra range that you get from there really has made a huge difference. We have not seen any dropouts whatsoever when we've been flying it over the last couple of weeks, and I flew it about 2 miles out from the beach, had no issue whatsoever. I flew it about a half mile from an area that I flew in a major city, and it was just really good. It was reliable. It didn't cut out at all. It just stayed connected, and that's super important to me because I want to make sure that I always have control of the aircraft and that it's not returning to home and doing its own thing without me. Another big addition to this that is really, really useful if you're a first-time flyer is this new omnidirectional image sensor. So on all sides of the drone, the front, the back, the bottom, and the top, it has sensors which allows you to not crash basically. And whether you're a first time flyer or an experienced flyer, that's really, really nice. Where it comes in the most handy are things like the active track, where you can have it track you and keep track of you while still avoiding obstacles. That's really important because if you are not controlling the drone, you don't want it to run into things. One of the cool new modes that comes with the Mavic 2 Pro is called hyperlapse mode, and it basically allows you to get a time lapse in the air, and you can get some really, really cool shots with it. You can either have it like rotate around the subject, you can have it go toward it with a course lock, you can do just a free time lapse where you fly it at a very slow speed and it takes the pictures. Really, really cool, the options that you can get and the results you can get with this mode. I've only tested this a little bit, so I only have a few clips to show, and it was really windy on the day that I was doing it, so it doesn't really show you the capability of it. But as you can see, it's just a whole new perspective of being able to take time lapses from the air, and the fact that it can do it by itself is just really cool. I literally just set my controller down and I was working on something else for about 15 minutes when it was doing that time lapse, and no issues whatsoever. And then once it was done, I brought it back home. In terms of build quality, I'm extremely impressed with this. It feels very, very solid. The footprint, when you're looking at it this direction, I would say is very much similar and close to the same as the original Mavic. But when you look at it this way, this is a much, much wider body, or taller, whatever it is. It's a thicker body, which makes it feel really solid. The battery is definitely bigger than the previous model, which is why it gets better battery life, but it just feels very well built. It feels solid. The legs feel solid. They don't feel as plasticky as the original Mavic did, and it just is a really, really well built machine. The camera looks really good. The gimbal that they put in here just works outstanding and seems well built. It's just a nice looking drone, and it's nice being able to fold it up like all the previous Mavics and just be able to bring it with you places. It just feels solid. It doesn't feel like it's gonna fall apart when you use it, which sometimes some of the cheaper, smaller drones can feel that way. This is built really nice. They haven't changed the controller much, which is one thing that I wish they would change a bit. Even though it is nice and portable when you're using it, it is small. One of the downfalls, I think, of the Mavic controller is that it actually is more work to connect than it is using like the Phantom or the Inspire controllers, because even though it's portable and it breaks down like crazy, it still is a lot more work to get it going, because when you fold it up to the way that it's supposed to be for portability's sake, when you take it out and you're ready to fly, this just unfolds and it's ready to go and you fly. That's great. The problem with this is you have the antennas, then you got to open these. You got to put the little joysticks in. You got to get your phone out. For me, I got to take my phone out of my case for it to fit. Then you got to plug this into the back of the phone. You got to get this to fit to it. Then you hit the power button and you're ready to fly. I wish they would make an option, just like they do with the Phantom 4 Pro, that you could have a Mavic controller with a small screen. If they just put a screen that was this exact size, just for viewing purposes only, essentially the size of a phone, it would be beautiful, because I could undo the antennas, push power, and be ready to fly in seconds. That is what I would prefer, because I don't really like to use my phone, because you also have to worry about someone calling you or having cell phone service or whatever it is. I just want it to connect immediately and not worry about having to use my phone for that and making sure that the phone is charged and all that. One thing they did, which is nice, is this will now charge your phone while it's in there, which is good, but the battery life is not unbelievable in these things. So if you are charging your phone and you're flying for a while, it's going to use the battery in the remote a lot faster. But I just wish they had an option for a built-in screen. I don't need it to be amazing quality. I just like to see what I'm shooting. I don't need it to be in a beautiful 1080 or even 4K. I just need it to just have a screen so I can see it. Outside of that, and I don't see it as a con, but it's not the cheapest portable drone you can buy at almost $1,800 for the Fly More kit. It's more expensive than obviously the Mavic Air, the previous Mavic, or even the Mavic 2 Zoom that just came out, but I think it's definitely worth it. I think that they realized they put a great camera on this, a great sensor, great capabilities, range, battery life, all that. So that comes with the price tag, but it comes to about $1,500 by itself, or $1,800 or $1,900 with the Fly More kit. I think it's super worth it because it is definitely a drone that I can use simultaneously with my Inspire 2 and get outstanding results. So I'm really thrilled about it. When it comes to frame rates, you have 4K 30, 4K 24 frames a second, which is pretty standard these days in all the drones. It would be nice to have 4K 60 because that's what I usually shoot on the Inspire 2. But I know you can only ask so much for it. 4K 30 is okay to me. I usually always shoot in 4K 30, and then I just make it about 80% speed for a 24 frame timeline. Gives me a really smooth shot, a really smooth look to it. Normally I shoot in 60 frames a second on my Inspire 2, and then I slow it down even more, but having the 4K 30 is at least a nice option. And then you get some pretty high frame rates in 1080. I don't use a lot of high frame rate stuff when I'm shooting on a drone because there's not always a lot of situations that makes sense, but it is nice to be able to have that if that's something you're interested in. Other than that, I'm just thrilled so far with this drone. We got it, as I said, to be a complement to the DJI Inspire 2, and it really is. The image quality is incredible. I'm going to be doing a video very soon that compares this to the Inspire 2, because some of you saw the previous video I did on the Mavic Air versus the Inspire 2, and it's just crazy that that was even as close as it was in terms of image quality. This is going to probably blow my mind more than I prefer because I spent a lot of money on the Inspire. That's another story, but I'm excited for it. I just love being able to have a portable, small drone that I can bring with me anywhere and still know that I'm going to get outstanding image quality from it. There's always the battle you face of portability versus image quality versus battery life versus all those things, and I feel like so far they have just absolutely killed it with this drone. Great battery life, really good range, awesome image quality, portability. It's kind of just the greatest drone ever created right now in terms of just its overall capabilities. So hopefully this helps just give it a little bit of information of why I think this drone is as good as it is. I am really excited to be able to add this to our kit, and I'm excited to be able to show you more videos of some of the ways that we're using it. It's blowing me away so far in just the 2 weeks that I've had it, and I can't wait to continue to use it when I travel and get some shots that just you couldn't get if you didn't have a portable drone. So it's just awesome to see DJI continuing to just raise the bar in such a high way for drones. I don't know how they're doing what they're doing, but it's pretty amazing. So I just like buying this stuff. I wish they'd send it to me. DJI, if you're watching this and you love my review, please send me them so I don't have to keep buying them. Thanks for watching. I hate when I get done recording a video and then realize that I forgot to talk about something that literally is one of the best features to me, and that is the fact that this thing is unbelievably quiet. Now, normally you'd think to yourself it doesn't really matter if a drone is quiet because when you're flying in the air, no one hears it anyway. But there are a bunch of instances when I go to fly places, depending on where I'm at, that taking off from the area that I'm taking off draws a lot of attention. And when I first got a drone, I really wanted people to talk about how cool the drone was and all that stuff. As you kind of fly more and you get used to flying more and you're kind of doing it to get certain shots, you don't want to draw attention. So having it be a little quieter is really nice for me because it's nice being able to just kind of quickly get it up in the air and fly and get the shots that I want and not have to worry about drawing attention by everyone else around me. It's really, really, really quiet. I'm not gonna do a test in my house, but it's really quiet. Okay, sorry, I forgot that earlier.